Welcome to Business Origin Stories. I'm Amy Schutte, your guide to crafting a magnetic message for a profitable business. This is the podcast for you if you're ready to claim the transformative power of your own origin story and use it to create a brand that finally stands out. We're here to level up, but more importantly, I'm here to help you elevate your influence, your community, and your impact on the world. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And remember, the stories you tell yourself are your greatest currency. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Business Origin Stories. Today is a solo episode day, and I am recording this on July 3rd, 2024. Today, my husband and I did something really exciting, which I will talk about on the podcast one of these days soon. I'm not quite ready to reveal all the juicy details, but I definitely have a whole bunch of episodes that I know will come out of it. So that will happen. But this day is an auspicious day for me, and I wanted to give you some background story time because I get asked this question all the time. I talk to people all the time that are on the brink of wanting to start a business, and I always want to tell them, if this is meant for you and you are meant for it and it is in your heart, go do it. There is a beautiful coach out in the world named Amber Lillystrom, and she has a saying that I've loved since I first heard it. And she always says, if the dream is in you, it is for you. And I followed Amber online for a long time and never done any of her coaching programs, but she says that line a lot, and it has stuck with me from the very beginning. And so I'm going to share her wisdom with you in that saying, and if the dream is in you, it is for you. And this is just a little backstory of how I got here and a few of the lessons I learned along the way, things I always tell people when they're starting their business. If you're a mom, I'm hoping this will help you as well, because there are so many women that want to start businesses, but they're nervous, they're scared, they're busy. And so hopefully this will help you hack that process a little bit from, my story. So take this as you will, but let me take you back to July 3rd, 7 years ago, when I walked out of my last job as an employee and into the world of entrepreneurship. So July 3rd is my freedom day, my quit day, whatever we want to call it. July 3rd for me is a big deal. And so, but I do want to tell you a little bit about that experience of how I went from someone who was climbing the career ladder to someone that all of a sudden switched and now is in business full time. And here in my 7th year, which I always find to be such a beautiful thing, because business is not easy, and a lot of people go out of business within the first 5 years. And I want to just, give you a little bit behind the scenes. So let me set the stage for you. I started my career in journalism. Storytelling has always been a huge part of my life. It is what I do now as a business coach, messaging coach, marketer. Story is the key to everything. And it's been a thing that's been woven throughout all of my careers and all of the work that I've ever done in the world. So it is my life's work to tell stories. But my background is in public relations. And so right out of college, I was given the gift of a job in journalism, which was amazing because it allowed me to build a really strong network locally. It taught me how to write well. I had an editor at that time who was absolutely incredible. His name was Eric. He took my writing and then honed it in a way that was fantastic. So I always feel like I owe a lot to him, because he changed my writing, changed how I looked at things. He was such a good support in my first career. So I was given this gift of storytelling, networking right away. And then I moved into marketing and brand building and brand management for 2 large international companies, which gave me the ability to manage big budgets, big brands, travel a lot. I got to go to some amazing places with these companies and learn a lot. And so that experience from a corporate perspective was fantastic. From there, I moved into major gift fundraising and the not-for-profit space, which was also very educational and helpful. And fundraising is all about storytelling. So I always say storytelling was the basis of everything I did during my employee life and set me up for what I'm doing now. However, I didn't go into my career or into college knowing I was going to be an entrepreneur. That was not really on my list of things to do. I thought I would always be working for another company, doing public speaking, doing in-house public relations. I had big dreams to work for specific organizations in college. I did a big internship in Washington, D.C. I loved nonprofits and I loved public relations and writing. So that's where I thought my career would eventually go. But after I had my son, who he's about to turn 8 this month, which is wild to me. But when I had him, I really thought deeply in my soul, because I loved working and I had been building this career, that I would feel really fine having a baby, taking him to daycare, and then working. I'd seen it modeled so many times, and I thought that was fine. And it works for so many women. But for me, for some reason, it did not work. I had this beautiful baby, and I looked at him and I thought, I never want to leave you. Like, you are so important, and I don't want to live any minutes away from you. Like, I can't live without you. I need to be with you at all times. This could have been a lot of postpartum hormones. Who knows? I don't know. But at this time, I just knew I needed to be with my kiddo. It was the most strong knowing I have ever had in my life, besides when I met my husband and I knew he was the one. And so I had to go back to work. And so after 12 weeks, I showed back up at work with this baby. I took him to daycare. I was gifted a place where I worked. There was a daycare on site. So I could go feed him during the day. I could see him during the day, which was such a gift. It was also really, really hard because the ratio for baby to provider is really high in Idaho. And so it was really hard for me to leave him multiple times a day after I'd feed him and just need to set him down because, there weren't enough people to just hold him all day long. That's just not how daycare works. So that was really hard for me. And every day it just broke my heart. And I finally got to a place, and things were harder at work too. I felt like I had to work extra hard to prove that I could do my job and I could be capable and I could be a mom of a brand new baby who, would keep me up all night and maybe spit up on me right before I went to work, but I could show up and be professional. And I was living a halved life, if you will. Like, I have to be this person here and I have to be this person here. And I couldn't be the whole of me anywhere. And that started to really take a toll on me where I just felt so misaligned. And so eventually I got to this point where I said, okay, to my husband, Ryan, who's the most wonderful human ever. But I said, let's go on a date. I really need to talk to you about this. And I remember sitting at this restaurant in my town and I mapped it out. And I said, listen, I need to quit this job. I know that this is a huge salary in this town. I know that there are not a lot of other jobs like this. I live in a smaller rural town, so there weren't a lot of other opportunities. If I left this one, I was like, I don't know where I'd go next. I know that I'm holding the health insurance for our family, but also I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to waste my life. This is too hard. I don't like this. I think I can figure it out. And I had a whole money plan mapped out. I was like, here's how we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. So if you're listening to this, what I'm saying is I was trying to be a very big controller of a situation that felt completely out of control for me. And I showed up with all of the doing possible. I had my plans. I knew what I was going to try to do, but I also had no idea how to do it when it came to maybe starting my own business. But I knew I could figure it out. But mostly I just knew I needed space. I needed space to be with my kiddo, and I needed space to process the last few months of trying to be a person, hold an identity that didn't feel good to me. And after we talked through everything, my husband said, you know what? I agree. Let's do it. And it'll work. It'll be fine. Like, let's make it work. And so we walked out of that restaurant. We took a picture, a selfie in the car. I have it on my phone. And every time it pops up in my memories, I just am reminded of what a gift I was given to have someone that could see the potential in me and the potential in us, and also was willing to surrender and trust that everything was going to work out. And for someone like me, that is a hard learned lesson, but it was something more natural for my husband. And he just knew it was going to be fine. And so, but I had a plan and I didn't want to put in my 2 weeks yet. I just knew I needed some time to squirrel away money and do the things that I wanted to do. So I had a safety net, some sort of security that I could hold on to, which I know now security is an illusion. But at the time I thought if I could control these things, everything would be fine. So, but eventually I got to a place where everything was blowing up. And by blowing up, I just mean things were happening with daycare, things were happening with people I was working with. And I just said, you know what? I think I'm done. I know I planned this for, October time, but it's time. The universe is saying it is time. I am saying it is time. Let's go. And so on July 3rd, I walked out of that building and I've never felt more elated and scared than that day. And it was such a gift. I always tell people, because there's so many ways to leave your career that you've built. You can burn the boats, which some people need to. You can part-time get out of there. You can start side hustling on the side and make enough money that your side hustle is making more than your job. There's so many ways to do it. So when people ask me, how do I do this? It just really depends on your situation. For me, I liked having a little bit of that safety security net, but as I just said too, it came a point where I just knew it was time to go. And so did I have what I had planned when I mapped it all out at the table? Probably not, but my husband trusted it and I trusted him. So we did it. And at that time, I was given the gift of space. I was able to be with my little guy who was just about to turn a year. So he was a busy kiddo. And I got to spend a lot of time with him. And during that time, it was not restful. It felt like a very high anxiety time, because I didn't quite know. I didn't have like an actual plan for my business. I knew I could write. I knew people needed something. I knew I had a great network, but I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I turned to the world of podcasts. And this was 7 years ago, before there were a bajillion podcasts. But I listened to a whole variety of different podcasts at that time. And one day I found Donald Miller, who owns StoryBrand, which is now named Business Made Simple. And I had loved Donald's books from college. He was a Christian memoirist back in the day. Now he's a full-on business owner, business coach, speaker. He's amazing. If you don't follow him, I'll make sure I tag him in the show notes. But I had loved his book. He had written a book a long time ago called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. And that book was about story and creating a life around story, making sure that your life was a good story. And so when I found him on a podcast and I heard him talking about creating this company called StoryBrand, that they use story in their marketing framework, I thought, I have found it. And I always joke, I was on the stroller walk when I heard this podcast, and I always joke that the sky opened up and the angels started singing. And I just thought, I have found my guide, someone that can guide me through this business thing. And at the time, this was back in 2017, StoryBrand had just started what was called the StoryBrand Guide Certification Program. And basically, you could pay them money, show up in Nashville for 4 days. They would take you through the framework. They would teach you all the marketing tricks and tips specific to that framework, sales funnels, websites, copywriting, all the things. And then you would get continuous training with them and support in a group community of other guides. And I thought, that's it. That gives me some direction. I knew how to market. I knew how to brand build. I knew how to write, but it gave me another tool. And so, but at that time, the amount to get in, I don't know if it's the same, so I'm not going to throw a number out there, but the number felt astronomical to me at that time, because I had just quit the job and how am I going to find that money? So, but what a gift. It was all provided to me. And so I flew to Nashville in February of 2018 and spent 4 days, 5 days in Nashville learning from the best of the best. And I came home. Everything that I had just spent on that certification was paid back in full very quickly because all of a sudden I had clarity, I had confidence, and I knew exactly how I wanted to help people. And so I locked in clients so quickly. And then I started a business. And it was ungraceful. It was messy. And I had to learn a lot of things. I was also very stubbornly attached to the idea because I had such a rough experience with daycare that I just did not want to have childcare. And so I could do this during nap time. I could do this other things. And I did. And it was ungraceful. And I am so grateful for those clients that stuck with me through those first few months because I was trying to figure out a process. I didn't have all the pieces in place. I just was going at it scrappy. And I am grateful for that time. And I also look back at that young mom and think, bless you for trying so hard. And thank you for trying so hard because it got me here where things are much more relaxed and happy and business-like. We've professionalized the business over the few years, but at the beginning, I just went for it. And so when people tell me they want to start businesses, but they don't quite know and they don't know this, I always tell them just start taking messy action. Just start going after something. You don't have to burn the boats. You don't have to leave your job. You don't have to just completely transform your life. That's kind of what I felt like I had to do. But sometimes you just need to take a step toward something and the pieces will fall into place. You will learn the things that you cannot tolerate. You will learn that you have certain boundaries that cannot be crossed. You will learn so many things about yourself, but you absolutely just have to start. If you need the entire plan before you begin, you'll keep planning forever. So start messy, start scrappy, start knowing you're going to probably fall on your face multiple times. I learned a lot of lessons the hard way. And I'm still learning lessons in business. And I'm so grateful because when we are no longer learning lessons, it's not that we have arrived. It's just that we've stopped trying. So I like to learn those lessons. I like to experiment and be able to look back and go, we could do this better next time. So all that to say, if you are in this place to start a business, take messy action right away. Just start trying something, right? The second thing is find someone to help guide you. Now that we do a lot of business coaching, I love working with people who are moving forward. You need to have proven something to work with us. And by proven, I just mean you need to have some sort of concept that's working where you're showing that you have a product, a service, something that's in place that can start moving. But I am so grateful that I, at the time, had coaches and a mentor and guides like the Story Brand program, because to me, it just helped to have a community of other people to just say, I see you, because what you are doing is new. You're creating something brand new, maybe not brand new in the world, but brand new in your world. And here's something I've experienced. How are you doing this? What are you doing here? And being able to be around people that want to up level at the same time you do, that want to see you win, that's really, really valuable. So if you're starting a business, get in the room with other people who are trying to do big things. Get in the room with people who have already done something. They don't have to be 100 steps ahead of you. They only have to be a few steps ahead of you to be really helpful. And you can be helpful to them in other ways as well. So find mentors, find guides. Another thing that I always love to tell people when they're just starting out, and sometimes we look at social media and we think, I don't have an audience. Some of these people have 100,000 followers on Instagram, but I have like 500. Oh my gosh, I need to spend all my time on Instagram doing reels and dances, and wow, my gosh, this is so stressful. And listen, you can spend a lot of time on social media, but I always tell people, look at your network. What problem are you solving and who can you talk to in your network? They may not know, or they might not have that problem, but they may know someone that has that problem. So always be available to connect with people. Relationships are so critical to a business, especially in the early years. to me, my relationships have been a huge currency for me. And I say that from a place of like service, because there's always reciprocity in these relationships. These are people in my life that have needed me to help them. I have needed them to help me. These are mutually beneficial relationships. So I want to make sure reciprocity is communicated there, because we can't just be takers of network. We absolutely need to be giving back. So find ways you can have mentors, be with people, serve people. Come into business with the heart of a servant. How can you create expansion? How can you help people? Get clear on the problems that you can solve. I think this is one of the things, if I could go back, I'm a jack of all trades. I can write, I can do this, I can do all of these things. And so for me, I just kind of had to play a little bit to find the right playground for me to stay with. But if you're good at one or two things, get really clear about what those things are, and then the connection to the problem that you're solving. It makes it more streamlined. It makes it repeatable. Start getting that process honed early. And lastly, make sure that you are charging an appropriate amount. I'll do another podcast episode on this, because this is something I'm very passionate about. But high ticket services or coaching are sometimes the easiest thing to do when you are just coming into the business. And so if there's a way that you can have fewer clients that you can serve at a high level for a higher dollar amount, it's a great way just to start. I say that because if you take on too many quote unquote low ticket clients, you get very, very busy, and you may not be doing, you may just be trying to appease so many people that you're going to burn out, which is not why you went into business to start for yourself. So I'll do another episode on that some other time, but find problems that you can solve, charge for them appropriately. I always joke, I had the name of this proposal that one of the local business owners in my life at that time was like, oh, we really need help with this. And I said, no problem. So I put together this proposal, and I look at those prices that I, said, okay, this is what it would charge. This is what I would charge for blogs and social media. And it's so low. It's so low. It's laughable. Like $50 for a social media strategy. Like, it's embarrassing how low it is. But I love that I still have access to this proposal to remind me of how far my self-worth has come, because your business is a direct reflection of you. And so make sure you're charging appropriately. You didn't go into business to be broke. You went into business to have an impact, to make money, to do amazing things in the world. So don't play small here. It is important that you keep things professionalized. But if you are good at what you do and you can solve big problems, you need to charge for those things. So that's something I would always tell people too at the beginning. Anyway, all this to say, those are the things that I wish I had known at the beginning. I learned them along the way through a lot of chaos, but that's exactly how I started my business. It's in a completely different place now, and I'm so grateful. But on this July 3rd, as I'm recording this, I am so grateful. I'm grateful for every step, every journey, every client that has come into my life. And if you have been one of my clients in the past, thank you. Thank you for trusting me to help you. And I appreciate being in business, because it is truly the most beautiful way to create expansion in a business setting. And I am always going to be thankful for the opportunity to leap, to trust, and to ultimately always be provided for. Because if you do take those steps forward, the path will always show up. So with that, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for being here on this story. And if you are interested in working with us, if you have a pull in your heart to start a business, or if you're in your business and you are just thinking, I need this to work better for me, get a hold of us. You can follow us, me at Amy Schutte _ or reach out to me at hudsonandco.co. Have a beautiful day, friends.
Thanks for listening to Business Origin Stories. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Join me on Instagram and make sure to sign up for our weekly email.